Hey everyone, Felice here, and I want to share with you something that is dear to my heart, and that is saving you money. Can you use encouragement for your homeschool journey? Have you been searching for an online learning program designed to ground your family in a Christian worldview? Well, now you can at MediaAngelsMembership.com. Our affordable membership packages fit your budget and busy life. Now you can access customized membership packages for your homeschooling family from the extensive Media Angels library of books, classes, and Bible studies. You may select the ebook bundle, the creation bundle, the premium bundle, or the forever bundle. Each bundled set will save you vast amounts of money. Our packages begin at less than $10, and you can use it for the whole family. So go to MediaAngelsMembership.com for more information. That's MediaAngelsMembership.com. You'll be glad you did.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at MediaAngels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey friends, and welcome. My name is Felice Gerwitz, and I am your host today. We are going to talk about homeschool perfection. This is episode 413, and you can find today's show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And check out the Media Angels website. There you'll find information about the character planners that we give away on the website every month. Every month you will get a new planner, and this month is no exception. And so for the next quite a while anyway, we have planned character planners to give away new ones each month. And because many of you asked, I ended up bundling those. So if you missed the free giveaway, you can get your character planner on our website. And so that is something that is available for you. I also want to give a shout out to our network, and that is the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. This is our 7th birthday. Can you believe it? I can't. And I'm still blown away. Many, many years ago, I had this idea, and I know many other homeschoolers who are authors and publishers. And so I approached a few of my friends, either messaged them on Facebook or sent them a text message or sent them an email and said, hey, I've got this idea. Do you want to talk? And some of them said, oh no, now what? But others that didn't know me as well and were probably thinking that and didn't want to say that out loud, they responded. And other than maybe one or two that didn't feel the timing was right, but had offered to have me interview them whenever I wanted, everyone just jumped on board. And so we began this network with a huge amount of podcasts. And some of those podcasters are no longer podcasting regularly, but you can find those on our website. We have a button that says more shows, and you can find them there. And then I have podcasters who will pop back, occasionally because they want to podcast about something. So they are welcome to do that as well, because my mission is really to bring you the, homeschool mom and dad and grandparent and aunt and uncle and, whoever you are out there, information. And so, I've been very open and welcoming in my network. And if you, know of anyone who wants to start a podcast, have them contact me at Felice@MediaAngels.com. I will tell you, at one point we had this this little contest, if you will. And, we had about 26 or 30 people that wanted to have a podcast on the network. And out of those, only 2 actually made the cut. So, it's difficult to, to come up with a concept and be able to be fresh with ideas. And, here I am at podcast 413. So you can see I don't very rarely run out of ideas. And so because it's our birthday, we're going to be celebrating the entire month of October. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed, the birthday party, we have it every year in October. And if you stay, on our email list, we email you once a week. And then if we have a special sponsor, and our sponsors keep us in business and, give me the money I need to be able to hire social media people and back end people and so forth. And so, once in a while, we'll have an email blast from our sponsor. But I will tell you that we turn down a lot more in sponsorship than what we accept. And, I always get this, Felice, you're such a great businesswoman. I'm really not, because if I was, I would take all of the sponsors, right? But I want you to have, good information and not just send you a bunch of emails with things that you're probably not going to be interested in. Well, today's topic is homeschool perfection, and I am actually piggybacking here on a post that was written by Gina Glenn. She is part of my team and currently is handling Instagram, and so you should follow us over there because she does a great job with that. And she did an interview and sent me some amazing questions, and it was really fun to go through this. And she put a blog post together that is called Create Your Perfect Homeschool. So I want to give a shout out to Gina. I'm not going to go through everything that she has in her blog post, but I will have a link in the show notes. And again, you can find those at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com, Homeschool Perfection, episode 413. But she did a great job, like I said, putting this together. And one of the questions she asked me is, what biggest piece of advice would you have regarding your marriage and homeschooling? And I thought that was a really good question. A lot of people were thrown into homeschooling because of the past shutdown. And if you've noticed, I haven't really dwelled on any of it in my podcasting because I want it to be a footnote in a year that we all, went through rather than dwelling on it. But I know that a lot of people had to be home together and just were not used to family dynamics. So I heard a lot of things on the internet, such as, we were, it was so great because I got to spend time with my, my family and my husband and my kids, to, little memes that had, the before and after, what they look like before homeschooling and what they look like afterwards. And I have to say that the biggest part that I saw in, the dynamics was, people really struggling at times with their relationships with their husband because, we weren't supposed to go anywhere, right? And so, this is, I guess I've said this for quite a while, that with our relationships with our husbands, we need to be really creative, and we need to think back to the time we were dating, or what we experienced with our spouse that was very enjoyable. And if you spend time with your husband in a way that is, you both kind of lift each other up and encourage each other instead of tearing each other down, you will find your relationship growing. I'm a big rule maker, okay, and my husband's way laid back. So I was the one who always came up with the 342 family rules for our family. And so he was like, okay, we need to, kind of trim this a little bit. But one of my rules was that whenever we had to discuss anything, there could be no character assassination, no criticism that said, oh, you're just stupid, or not, that was just dumb, why did you do that? And that is just a recipe for a big fight coming up, right? So you can address things so many different ways. I don't really have time to go into them all here, but look at what the issue is. Why are you upset? Are you upset that this happened because of what? Name that anxiety or why you're upset about what happened, and address that. I'm upset because, you let the kids watch a show that I said they couldn't watch, and here are my reasons why. And then, talk to your husband about it or whatever that is. And I think that so many times, we go directly to the jugular and we don't get to what we really need to be talking about. And currently, my husband and I are working with the newly engaged in our church. And one of the things my husband brings up to the guys is, she thinks I understand where she's coming from when I have no idea. Or when she's upset about something, I had no idea that was bothering her. And so, our husbands can't read our minds and vice versa. Husbands, we can't read your minds. And so we can get upset and think the worst instead of, looking for, the best in each other. And I tell you what, if we just spend time every day just finding one thing we can be thankful for, I think that would be so much better and would really help. And that not only goes for your marriage, but also your homeschooling. And the other thing is, one of the things I loved about homeschooling, and I really think this is a key to anywhere near perfection in homeschooling, and probably I should have done a disclaimer, we can't have a perfect homeschool, okay? But we can have this ideal of what we think homeschooling should be, and it could be, standing around and singing Kumbaya and everybody's just getting along, and that isn't always the case. That isn't, there's family dynamics and different people have different personalities. And so sometimes we have to die to this perfectionist ideal of what homeschooling is and look at the reality. And I think first and foremost, if you're a person of faith like I am, you need to have a relationship with God. If God's pouring into you daily, you'll be able to easily pour into your kids. I've told this story before that my kids used to interrupt my prayer time with the Lord. And when they did, I would be annoyed and be grouchy, as they said, the rest of the day. They knew that if they peeped in my room and I wasn't ready, they would just go ahead. I would have some things laid out. They could either get breakfast or they could wait for me. And then we usually had story time. And I was also, aware of their time as well. A lot of times we as parents, we don't care about our kids' times. They just have to wait for us. And I've had some time management issues, and I shared some podcasts about those in some past sessions not that long ago. And so, we need to be aware of that and, have our prayer time with the Lord, and then, deal with our family and our kids. And relationship with the Lord's first, relationship with your spouse is second, relationship with your children is third. And if you can keep those things going, I really, really believe that your relationship with your children is going to continue into adulthood. And, my baby now is 20, and, I still get calls and texts and so forth. They're super busy right now at school. But, whenever I call, they're happy to hear from me. Or if I text them and say, hey, give me a call, they're happy to do that. And that's what you want. You want to have a relationship with your children beyond homeschooling. And, one of the other things she asked me was, if I had a do-over, what would I do? And it's what everyone says. And when you're in the moment, and actually she doesn't have this in the post because I just thought of it right now, but it's what everybody says. But when you're in the moment, you really can't deal with it. And that is enjoy your babies. They grow up so fast. And when you're in the midst of it and you're holding your little one and, he spits up down your back, and then you're trying to feed the other one and get them to eat something decent, and you're struggling with just trying to get your laundry in, and never mind, the 3 books you were supposed to read that week. it can be really frustrating, and you can kind of wish your time away. And so, enjoy your little ones. And then also, one of the things I wish we had not done so much when they were younger, we ended up switching more to textbooks because I had college-bound kids. And for my kids that weren't college-bound, I wish I hadn't tried to stick to a regular high school curriculum. I did switch things up finally with my third child that I should have done with my first. But what really worked for us was to do unit studies, and you will love them, and your kids will learn so much. They can notebook, they can do lap books, they can do all kinds of things while you're doing your unit studies and have information that they'll look back on. I don't remember anyone going back and going, oh, let me look at this workbook so I can see what I did and progress through. I mean, most kids don't, right? You might have the one who does, but they don't. And good historical novels and biographies, there's so much revisionist history out there right now. They're trying to change so many things. You've got to deal with these ideologies, and, you've got to conform to what, mainstream media says. Well, if your kids are not grounded, first of all, in the Lord, my kids had a very strong creation science background. So when they heard about evolution, or when people are telling them that some people are great and, you can be prejudiced, my kids weren't prejudiced because God created everything at the beginning of time. How are you going to be prejudiced? In fact, the two youngest are going to a predominantly Black college, and they're the minority, and they're not prejudiced because, again, guess what? We're all creatures of God. God created us all. And if you have that perspective and that knowledge and that, sense of self-worth that God created you, you're going to be able to deal with the things. Have they been harshly treated in some of their colleges? Sure. But, they can get through it, and it's not, woe is me. It's, we can agree to disagree, or you can talk to the professor later, which some of them have done. And so, you can get to an understanding, and none of my children have ever had difficulty with the professor after they've gone and talked to them. So professors look for kids who are willing to do the work and good students. And that is so rare that it is, really sometimes a difficult thing. But I have a lot of stuff that I did in the interview. And like I said, I'll put that little link to the interview I did. But I also want you to join us on social media. We are on Facebook predominantly. We have a group for our, radio listeners, podcast listeners, as we call you now. At one point, I didn't want to use the word podcast in our title because it actually is a registered trademark. So a little trivia for you there. But it's pretty much commonplace now that it's being used. And so we have a great group where you can join us. There's not ever a lot of chatter there, but we always give you up-to-date information that's happening. And you are welcome to ask questions. I tell people this all the time, and I think there are so many homeschool groups, people get overwhelmed. Also, my Media Angels membership has a lot of great information from years and years and years of curriculum development, and you can get the bundled set. We have a special promotion this month, but again, if you're part of my newsletter, you're going to get, Black Friday specials and all kinds of things, so you can get that information. And you may be wondering, well, how do I sign up for your email? And that is, once again, on the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network.com. I believe it's on the front page, but you can find our giveaways page and see what the current giveaway is, as well as sign up. And, a lot of times you get emails from people and they're trying to upsell you on something. And like I said, we do have sponsors, but most of my emails that come through, I would say 99% is to give you something. I mean, what other business model do you know that it constantly is giving? And that really is my love language. If I knew you, I'd bake you cookies, or, we'd get together and have cookies, but have a cup of coffee or tea. And that is, what I do. And so it isn't a surprise to the people, again, who know me and know I have crazy ideas that, here we are in the 7th year, so it wasn't quite so crazy. And, we've added some new podcasters. We've got some new ones I'm talking to. And, my own sister-in-law is going to be podcasting on what I call our sister network, and that is the Ultimate Christian Podcast Network. And that is another URL and .com. I have A Few Minutes with God over there. In fact, I just podcasted on the topic, knowing God's will, and it just poured out of me. So when that happens, I know that's a gift from God. And, we can just live a life that is happy and fulfilling and all of the things that has nothing to do with money. And so that's the other thing. Let me leave you with that. When you homeschool, again, if you are a person of faith, go to the Lord and ask, how do you want me to homeschool my kids, Lord? Because my homeschooling looks a lot different than it did when I started. I had to unlearn some of my education background. I was a teacher, and, we had just a different style for doing things in the classroom that really didn't translate into the home. And the classrooms today look so different, even than, what you see in a home. You care about your kids. You love your kids. You need to tell your children this, when they're complaining about doing math or science or whatever that is, you need to just give your kids a hug and say, I love you. And, I want you to do really well. I have also created a series of podcasts just for kids, so look for that also on Vintage Homeschool Moms. And if you want me to create a podcast for your kids in particular, I talk to my daughter a lot, and she'll say, the kids are struggling with this or that. And I talk directly to the kids when I podcast. And I created several. One of them off the top of my head is kids like choosing good behavior. And another was on family loyalty and time management. I have one for teens and one for younger kids. So there's quite a few over there, and I'm really excited to be doing more. In fact, I'm working on one now on generosity, which goes along with an upcoming planner that I have. Well, friends, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for making us be here for 7 years. If you've been with us since the beginning, please give us a shout out. Let us know what you like about our network. And as always, please share this show with your friends. Give me a star wherever you podcast, whatever the ratings are. Please help us in that way. And again, happy birthday to the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network and all of the amazing podcasters. Until next time, God bless, and I will talk to you soon. Once again, you can find the show notes for today's episode 413 at Vintage Homeschool Moms. Look for Homeschool Perfection.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.